What's happening, guys? I've got a lot of questions today, or I got a lot of questions recently about just people starting businesses and the best way to go about it and where do I start. And, I haven't opened up that many businesses, but I've opened up a couple of businesses, and there are some linear things that happen wherever you are. And I'm in Florida. So I'm going to go down a quick list of things that you need to do just to get started. I'm going to specifically tailor it to a catering business. However, the first little bit of it, you'll be able to use in any business, at least here in Florida. The things that you need to do the systems are relatively the same. So let's get started. Okay, so first, obviously you have a business idea in mind, and you want to hopefully do it the right way, and you want to venture out on your own and maybe get out of the labor market as far as like a paid hourly employee. First, you have to really ask yourself, is this something you want to do? Because 9 times out of 10, the idea of running a business, like really running a business, seems so much better on the front end than it actually turns out to be. And I know everybody says that, and it's not for no good reason. Especially if you want to get into a business where you are responsible for other people and you have employees and you want to scale in a way that you're really like doing something bigger. You're pulling so much more responsibility on yourself that you need to kind of know what you're getting into, because you get a little taste of if your business does well, and you get a little taste of where it could go, and sometimes you bite off a little bit more than you can handle necessarily, and that all the momentum that you build up is gone in a snap. So first, really ask yourself if you are a business owner, if you have managerial skills, if you've been working for 20 or 30 years and you've never experienced just even like a management position. And like for me, I was in restaurants, so even in a restaurant, there's no way to jump from hourly employee serving tables to being responsible for payroll and taxes and all of that. So the first step would be, in whatever field that you're in, to be working for somebody and getting into some sort of management position, so you can at least get a taste of some of the responsibility, because once you're an owner, you have all of the responsibility. In restaurants, I was running kitchens for a long time, and I did feel the pressure. I thought at the time I felt the pressure of running something or being in charge, but it's somebody else's money. Essentially, I was writing schedules and making sure the costs of just my area and the kitchen were good, making sure my area was cleaned, and make sure I had good procedures in my area. But that now being on the ownership side, it's like there's so much more to it. So if you want to dig deep, first ask yourself, am I a business owner? And if you want to go through with it, there are some things that are going to be linear between all businesses, not necessarily just catering. I'm going to tailor this to catering, but no matter what, there's like some legal stuff you have to do first. And the first thing on the list is setting up an LLC. So a lot of people hire out for a lawyer for this. I'm going to tell you that if you have 30 minutes, and you're a little bit inept on using a computer, then you should have no problem doing your own LLC paperwork. It's not that hard. At least in Florida, where I am, it makes it pretty easy. We have sunbiz.org. You go on sunbiz.org, you hit start a new business, you fill out the paper, you have your license. That's number one thing you do. And it's important that you do these steps in order, because there's certain things you can't do without the previous step. So I'm going to go through like the actual legal ways. So first, you want to get that LLC started. The LLC is going to be kind of your base, so that you can go get a bank account, so you can go get do your IRS taxes and stuff. So if you are trying to limit liability, or maybe you think that later on you're going to have some other businesses, I would suggest doing an LLC, like maybe in your name, versus an LLC in, like, so I made the mistake at first just doing an LLC in my business name. But as we started growing, it's like, well, if I had another business idea that maybe I wanted to test out before making a full-blown LLC, they have what's called a DBA, and that's a doing business as, and you could name your business, you know, if you were ABC LLC, you could do business as, you know, Matt's Coffee Shop or whatever, and still use that same LLC, or you can set up a completely different LLC with the you know, Matt's Coffee Shop LLC. And the two ways to think about it is, if you have one business, it's not that difficult because you have one IRS EIN number, and you have your bank account's going to be tied to that, and so everything's going to end up going through that initial LLC. Versus if you have two separate payrolls, two separate sets of taxes, you want to be able to file everything separately, you're going to want to set up two separate LLCs. So how I have it set up now is I have like kind of my master LLC, and then I have another LLC for the coffee shop, and then I also have a DBA should I want to use it for the coffee shop as well. Because originally the DBA was for the coffee shop, but after even 1 year, I wanted to file my taxes separately, so I separated it out. So you're going to set up your LLC, and in Florida, you go to Sunbiz. Really, really easy. Next, you're going to set up your EIN. So right when you fill out your Sunbiz and you get your business license, now that's not like a professional license, that's just a license to do business in your state. That doesn't mean you're necessarily a licensed business. And I see that all the time where people are like, well, I'm a licensed blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, you have a license through the state, but you don't have a professional license to actually do the job that you're doing. And we'll get into that in a second. So you're licensed through the state, and then you're going to get your EIN number, and that's going to make you're going to get a federal tax ID, an FEIN. With that federal tax ID, then you'll be able to actually go into a bank, open up a business checking account. So you're going to open up your business checking account. Third. The next thing you're going to do is look for a business liability insurance. You know, if you're going to start out catering, it's actually really cheap. There's a bunch of programs out there. For me, it was called FLIP insurance, FLIP, and it's I think it's just Florida liability insurance, or food liability insurance program. It's called FLIP. At the very beginning, you don't know how much you're going to do. You're starting off small. It's $300 a year to get in, and then it goes based off of your income and what you're doing. So obviously, if you have a liquor license and all that kind of stuff, it's going to be a little bit more. So fourth thing is you get your resales or your liability insurance. Once you have your liability insurance, you're going to want to get a resale certificate. Now, your first few things you have to do in order. All these other things, once those are set up, you're checking in your EIN and all that. These are things, it doesn't matter kind of what order in. But the fifth thing you're going to do is you're going to need a local resale tax certificate. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow you to buy from wholesalers, because for food especially, you don't want to go into buying your food in retail stores. A lot of places don't allow it, but even if they did allow it, you don't want to pay retail for something you can get wholesale. Not even just the pack sizes, but price in general. You're going to want to use an actual distributor, or if you have a restaurant depot in your area, you need that resale certificate to go into there. So that you're going to go in Florida, you're going to go to floridarevenue.com. That's going to give you access to buy wholesale, and saying you're going to buy this product wholesale to resell it to a customer as a finished product. That's all that gives you. And then you don't have to pay sales tax on it when you're buying it as well. Once you have your resale certificate, number 6, you're going to go to DBPR, and this is where your professional license comes into play. So for Florida, we have DBPR. If you're in another state, I'm not sure what the programs they have, but it's Department of Business and Professional Regulations. So if you're a real estate agent, you need a real estate license, and you have to have some sort of certifications. You're going to go to DBPR. If you cut hair, you're going to have a professional hair cutting license, and proof that you went to school for blah blah blah. You need to have that. For catering, they have a catering license. There's some laws in Florida. You can get what's called a no seats license. If you have a kitchen that isn't open to the public, you can get what's called a no seats license. It makes it a little easier to do business because the catering license has a lot of stipulations involved in it. So you can get a no seats license or a seats license. If you do have someplace that you're allowed to seats, you can still cater outside events with those two licenses. So in Florida, there's 3 options. You can do a no seats license, a seats license, or a catering license when it comes to actually having a catering food. If you wanted to add bar and service on your bar service on like actually being able to sell alcohol, the other license that you have to have is called a catering 13CT liquor license. What that allows you to do is that allows you to purchase and sell alcohol to your customers so long as you cater for them. And you can't have one without the other. So you can't have the catering 13CT liquor license without either the no seats, or catering license. So you need to have both of those if you want to serve food and alcohol. Once you get those, and why this is important is because a lot of people go and they stop at Sunbiz when they get their LLC and they think that, okay, now we're licensed. It's no, you're not. You're just federally recognized as a business so that you can do business in your area, but you're not actually like a licensed professional. Everything that you can think of: plumbers, contractors, hair cuttery, real estate, food licenses. If you have a coffee shop, your dog walking business, there's a ton of stuff that you need. Maybe not a dog walking business, but there's a ton of things that you would need that professional license for. So definitely check out what your state needs licenses for, and a lot of them just is as simple as filling out the paperwork, and then some licenses like real estate, you have to fill out the paperwork and show proof that you completed a program, but only then are you a licensed professional to do that profession. So in Florida, it's just called myfloridalicense.com. Most of the things you can do online yourself. You don't need to send any paperwork in or anything. You can usually do it online yourself. I'm not going to lie, the system sucks big time. Plan on being on hold and not getting good answers when you get through to people. Unfortunately, state and city agencies are not very efficient, and it really shows when you're trying to do it the right way. And sometimes you get a little frustrated when you're trying to do things all the legal way, and then you hit all these roadblocks. It kind of just makes you want to do things the wrong way and illegally, because you see it all the time. But do things the right way. Long term, it's gonna benefit you. And when you do hit a snag, or you're covered. So once you have all that set up, you're technically legal. So real quickly recap. So you need the LLC first. Then if you're going to do a DBA, or you do that second, and then you need to do your EIN to get your federal tax ID. Then you can open up your business checking account or credit card or whatever you want. Get your liability insurance for your profession. Get the resale certificate, and then set up a DBPR license. Those are the things that you need to do to just legally be able to do business. Once you have all that stuff set up, since we're talking about catering, and what I have experience in is that you need to figure out how you want to prepare the food, right? This is catering. You're going to be doing food. There's a couple options here. Depending on your startup capital, I had none. I had a $3,000 credit card, like $3,000, not $3,000 credit card. So what I did is I set up an account at a local commissary kitchen, and the commissary kitchen allowed me to have a really low money entry, and I think the initial payment to get in there was maybe a $300 deposit, and then they billed me at $24 an hour or $25 an hour after 8 hours. So 8 hours was included in my $150 a month bill, and I got 8 hours, and then anything over 8 hours I was billed at $24 an hour. And then if they had racks and cooler space and each item was, like one rack was, $150 a month, or a cooler space was like 150 or $175 a month. Freezer space was X amount a month. And so what it did is it allowed me to get in at relatively low cost of entry. And then as business started picking up, I needed more space, or I needed more things, then I could add them on and slowly, gradually, work myself up from there. It's really important that you don't go into this thinking you're going to just like do stuff out of your house, because A, you're not going to do a good job out of your house that you would in a professional kitchen, and B, your kitchen's not like regulated or anything. It's not. A, it's not legal, okay? And B, you just shouldn't do it. Everybody's guilty of like maybe something here or there. You got to store something at home or whatever at the very beginning, and I understand. But a commissary gives you a rather low cost of entry. If you're not prepared to spend $300 a month or $500 a month on some sort of rent or area for you to work in legally, you're really not able to, you really aren't in a position to be even opening a business, because we're not talking about doing a full build out. We're not talking about signing a year lease or 2-year lease at a place that's going to be a few thousand a month. We're talking about just a few $100 a month to give you a space that if you wanted to go to Restaurant Depot or Costco and shop that day, and then go into the kitchen and prepare it, and then store it in a walk-in until you go out, that's the correct way to do it. You don't want to do a bunch of stuff in your garage and put it in fridges and then load up your car with stuff. And you want to, for you have the best success rate, you need to act professional from the beginning, because you don't want to give the customer any sort of idea that you're anything but professional, and setting yourself to look, and even if you have to fake it to make it, goes a lot farther, and your business is going to go a lot farther than always looking like you're putting stuff in Tupperwares and showing up with like Publix bags or Walmart bags and stuff. So you can use a commissary kitchen. That was your first one, or you can, if you have the funds and you have the means, and you have a good plan too, you can get yourself in a lease situation where you're leasing a restaurant space or a kitchen space. Something like that. I didn't go that route. I went commissary first, and then I was there for a total of 4 years, but the first 2, I hadn't opened up my business. I was working for another caterer. Once I opened up my business, I was in there for the first 2 years, almost 3, actually, I was in there for almost 3 years in my business, 3 busy seasons with my business. And what I did is when I first started there, my bill every month was like $300 to $500, and it slowly creeped up the more space I need. When I left there, it was because of the limitations, right? So my business got to a point where the limitations didn't match where I wanted to go with my business. I'm only allowed to have 2 helpers in there cooking, and I'm only allowed 2 tables, and we're in there 3 or 4 days a week, and my bill, instead of a few $100 a month, started being like between $4,000 and $5,000 a month, because we were there so much. And $4,000 or $5,000 a month, that's more close to having an actual lease on a space versus if you go into a space right off the bat, you don't know what kind of business you're going to do, you don't know what your growth is going to be, and you're going to have to nut that $5,000 every month, not knowing what's going to happen. So if you're just starting out or something, and you want to build to that, it took me 3 busy seasons, so about 3 years, to start from nothing, a $3,000 credit card, to building out my own kitchen space and signing on a 5-year lease there. So, but we're not talking about me. We're talking about opening up something of yourself. So you can use a commissary kitchen, or you can lease out a space that's already built out, or if you have the funds, you can build out a space. And building out a space is its own set of things that I'm not going to get into here, but essentially you need architecture, general contractor, subcontractors, Negotiation of your lease. You don't want to be paying on your lease when you're doing the construction if you can help it. There's a lot of factors that go into building out your space. If you could find something that's already built out, that's going to be your best bet. It's a lot easier to make little tweaks to something that's already built out than it is to start from nothing. So once that stuff's on, it's off to the races. So really, that's all your legality stuff. Now, next, there's some, I call it like kind of admin work. Once all those things are set and you have your mindset and you know where you're going to cook and you have all your licenses and everything, and you're ready to rock, you're ready to start cooking and you're ready to start serving people, you need to set up some food distribution accounts. That's going to be next. So for me, we have Cheney Brothers. We have a ton of them down here in Florida, but I choose Cheney Brothers. Chef's Warehouse is another good distributor. I don't use them that much, but they have high quality products. Restaurant Depot, if there's a Restaurant Depot in your area, it's just good to have, even if you don't frequent Restaurant Depot, because a lot of their products are, not super great, but it's definitely good to have something like that set up in a pinch. If you need to go run and get something, that's going to be your best friend. And then I always tell people to set up an Amazon account, which you probably already have one, because sometimes you want little things that you don't need cases of. And then one that I forgot to put on the list is Webstaurant. Webstaurant.com, that is going to be where you're going to get like a lot of equipment. If you're a caterer, a lot of little vessels and picks and all that pretty stuff to serve your food in. They have platters and plates, and they have literally everything. Set up a Webstaurant account, and then you'll be off to the races. If you are catering too, the next thing I have on the list is having a catering software. So at the very beginning, I tried out a few softwares. I tried Caterees. I gave that the college try, man. And it was it's so much. It's so not user friendly. It's not intuitive at all. It looks really, really outdated. It doesn't load well. And it's stupid to say, but it doesn't look pretty on the computer when you're going through it. And how smooth things work and how easy they work should be like number one. And this is a big company, and it just wasn't for me. It was a million clicks to put stuff in the system, took forever. Just the training on it was call after call after call, and I could not deal with it. And it's relatively expensive too. And then the next one is Total Party Planner, or TPP for catering. That is another program that has a ton of features, more than you could ever use. And again, it was okay, but it does a lot of stuff, but it's just a lot. Every little thing was an add-on in there too. So like if you wanted to do BEOs and all that stuff, it was like an add-on. And if you wanted to have the ability to make like a seating chart or something, it's an add-on. And it wasn't for me. So it probably, if I would have spent more time on it, but at the very beginning, it was me doing everything. It was me making the calls and me doing the proposals and me making the prep lists and doing the rentals and cooking and, all of that stuff at the very beginning. So if I had to spend 3 or 4 hours to learn how to just put together one menu, I mean, that was a lot of time, because I was still balancing another job at the time too. So I actually ended up with a program called Better Cater, relatively cheap. I think per user, it might be $300 or $400 a year. It's super, super easy to use. It doesn't do everything I wish it did, but it definitely does enough for you to get started. And if you were to graduate to something else from there, you can. But to get started and to have the ability to put together menus and BEOs and invoices and all of that, Better Cater's the best bang for your buck because of just how easy it is to use. I still use it to this day, and they've helped me a little bit tweaking the program, but I also use it in lieu with, or not in lieu of, but as well as a private CRM software that we're using for follow-up calls, and then QuickBooks is what we do our bookkeeping through. So, to build proposals and to do all that stuff is done through Better Cater, and then we do our taxes and our bank stuff through QuickBooks, and then our CRM is a custom thing that we're building out to do all the follow-up calls and stuff when a lead goes cold. So so catering software, that is going to be, it's going to save you so much time. You don't want to be putting spreadsheets and stuff together and adding things manually and all that shit. That's crazy. Just put it, with this, you can just build it out as you go. You do a few menus. It saves all the menu items in there. Then when you do repeat stuff and you put it in there, it just adds it all for you. It makes your customers nice, emailable PDF invoices. It has a signature option you can use. I mean, it's solid software, and it's going to make you look a lot more professional than sending them some like frickin' Word document or something. That's ridiculous. So next would be set up payroll and workers' comp. So at the beginning, when I very first started, I didn't have a payroll set up. I wasn't paying myself, and I couldn't fathom the idea of actually like paying for a payroll service. If you have the means to do it from the beginning. It's just a lot easier, because it's going to save you a lot of time too on the other side. I would suggest an app or something that allows your staff to clock in and out from their phone, because again, with the catering, you don't really have a POS system that people can come in and clock in at, and then you don't want to like do handwritten sheets or any of that stuff. You want to do, it's like, so we use Homebase. We just got it last year. We love it. There are some things it doesn't do that I wish it did better, but for us it's nice because we can put shifts out, and then all of my staff can actually claim the shift for themselves, and then a manager can just approve it, versus we actually have to put people on the parties. So we evolved a ton since the beginning. At the very beginning, I would send out a text to everybody and say, I need, this many servers on this party, this many servers and stuff on this party. And I'd give them like 10 parties. And then they would just message back which days they can work. And I can't believe we used to do it like that, but it's just crazy. So the new software is crazy. The new apps are so much better. And then payrolls ran right through it. So then you can just do it straight from your computer. They've already clocked in and out. My leads on site will fix their times if they mess up. And then when I do payroll, it's boom, it's payroll's done. I don't have to add anything. And then also at the beginning, I used to pay people out like 1099, and that worked for a while, but it's not sustainable. It's not a sustainable way to do business, and it's just not. There's a few parties too, that you pay people out cash and stuff. You just don't want to risk it. I think about the beginning days. Yeah, maybe people might have looked the other way or something if I got paid off on a party and I just paid all my staff out on site in cash or whatever. Just if you can and you do have the means, just try to do it right. The home-based software, if I would have had that at the beginning, oh my God, it would have changed everything, I think. And again, it doesn't do everything, but when it comes to scheduling and payroll, it's just super easy to use. And then these are just little things to help you with your business. All this first stuff is like legality wise and situational wise. But the next things to help would be this. First things first is set up Google Maps for your business. So if you use a commissary kitchen, you can use that address, which is what I did. When I put my website and everything on Google, my phone started ringing. Maybe not a lot, but like that week, I at least got like a couple calls, 3 calls or whatever. That was a crucial thing from the very beginning, just to answer the phone. So set up Google, set up Yelp, and then I just recently in the last 2 years realized that Apple Maps is its own thing. So you would want to go set up yourself in Apple Maps as well, because even though I think it's powered by Yelp, it doesn't pull things over. So Yelp and Apple Maps and Google Maps, those are 3 separate resources that you should be listing your website and everything on. And you just want to make it easier for the customer to get a hold of you. Because otherwise nobody's going to call you. So if you have other staff, these other things, obviously you're going to want to do some sort of training. You don't want to just, have a free for all in your business. And these other little things are just and most of these things are in another video that I just did recently, for like tips and tricks. But, have good operating procedures, have a script that you tell people on the phone. Really try to get your operating procedures like done at the beginning as you're growing, because it's a lot easier later to tweak things than it is to, be 2 years in, realized how fucked up or how messed up your system is, and then you're trying to like create a procedure and you have all this stuff going on. So at the very beginning, just spend some time, spend the time. And, if you're, for me, I like to hire experienced chefs versus, cheap labor. And that helps a lot just because I don't have to necessarily write out like super detailed recipes. I could just say these things need to be in it. But for the first few years, it was me cooking only anyway, so I'm not going to write a recipe guide out. But if you're not the person doing that, or you plan on getting staff fairly soon when you open your business, throw some generic recipe guides down. It's not an issue to roll out recipes to people. A lot of people, when they start, they want to make sure they make things right anyways. So giving them somewhere to start is a lot better for training staff. And then have pictures. We have like a collage in the kitchen of just parties over the last few years, 50 or 100 photos, just so if you do hire somebody, they walk in the kitchen and, even though they're just like little printed out pictures, like they know what the standard is. They know what the food's supposed to look like and how the platters are supposed to be decorated. And, they're not just throwing stuff down. And having pictures on your website, having pictures in your kitchen for when you hire people, having all of that stuff handled at the beginning is going to save you a ton of time on the back end. So I think that's good for now. I think I gave everybody a good handle on the step-by-step. I'm actually, I'm going to put this list in the description, because even if you don't have a catering business, it's just a good description to have. Or it's just a good step-by-step to have if you want to really have a business of your own. And again, you can get this stuff all done even if you're working for somebody else, on the chance that you want to get like a little side business going before. I was catering with another catering company for 2 years while I was doing mine simultaneously. And it sucked some of the time. It was a ton of work some of the time. But it allowed me to hold both positions. And, I was lucky to be in that position because my previous boss, they just wanted to make sure their food got done and they would take care of the rest. So, as long as I got their food done, that's all they cared about. So I would do their food and mine. There were some weeks where we were between the two events, we'd have like 16 parties, and I was like, what the hell's going on? But now everything's solid, and things are looking good, and we got our space built out, and I feel super lucky that where the business is going. So again, if anybody has any questions, please reach out to me. I really enjoy this. I think I'm starting to get a better flow going, and I'd like to have some guests on. I know my staff keeps asking if they can come on with me. I don't really want to open it up to them yet, but definitely doing like an after work shop talk or something would be pretty fun with a couple of the chefs. But yeah, if it doesn't have to be in person. If you have a podcast of your own, reach out. If you have a YouTube channel of your own, reach out. I want to do some other stuff. I'm working on some things in the kitchen. If I'm over there, I might, throw a little video together and so, it's not just me sitting in a chair talking all the time. It can actually be some action in the kitchen. So, appreciate everybody. Give me a like, subscribe, share, give me some ideas of other things that you want to talk about, and, have a great night. Thanks, guys. Oh, what I was going to say. We'll save it for later.